Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Got a story here sent to me by a whole bunch of people, and it's been ongoing. Hundreds more Massachusetts criminal cases can be dismissed due to ongoing public defender strike. So you know that if you're arrested, you're entitled to an attorney. If you cannot afford one will be appointed for you, right? You've heard that a million times. Hopefully not at the side of the road. But if you are entitled to an attorney, who pays for that? Well, someone's got to pay the attorneys. And so sometimes the attorneys are not paid market rates. And I can tell you that from personal experience because I've been a public defender before. Years and years and years ago, I was a public defender. And so they don't get paid what they can make elsewhere. So apparently the public defenders here have gone on strike. Now, it's not a union thing. They're not unionized. But it just appears that a lot of them have decided at this moment in time to quit work until they get better deals. So Sharman Sacchetti wrote this for WCVB. A new filing from the Suffolk District Attorney's Office has revealed that hundreds of criminal cases are on track to be dismissed as defendants are unable to get court-appointed lawyers. And that is because you're also entitled to a speedy trial and you're entitled to representation. And if they can't provide representation to you within a certain amount of time, well, it's messing up your civil rights if you are the criminal defendant. So bar advocates are currently on strike due to a pay dispute, which has already led to the release of dozens of defendants. Massachusetts lawmakers say talks are underway, but bar advocates say they're being shut out of them. I directly have emailed the Senate president and the House Speaker, said an attorney and bar advocate, who said there's been nothing but crickets in response. Bar advocates want a pay raise, and until they get one, they're refusing new clients. So on Monday, the House Speaker said that there is a negotiation, but it's not a traditional negotiation. Because they're all individual contractors, it's hard to foresee where a middle ground might be, one that works for everybody. The Senate president said she hopes it's resolved soon. She said, I strongly urge the bar advocates to get back to work. They're being paid. Conversations are happening. People are being paid. They continue to be paid. People are being hurt. So the attorney who talked a moment ago says, I was deeply concerned about their comments and their statements. I still have not heard back from anyone. So they speak about negotiating. I don't know who they're negotiating with. And keep in mind that the way things are in Massachusetts, the public defenders aren't allowed to unionize. So there's not an official union. So it cuts both ways. If there is a union, they can call a strike. But you can also, if there's a union, negotiate with them and settle a strike. So right now, a bunch of them have walked out, and it's like, who do you negotiate with? So over 100 cases have been dismissed in one county because defendants were not given court-appointed lawyers after 45 days. And apparently that's the rule, that you get an attorney within 45 days, or your case is subject to dismissal. Some defendants have been released from jail. So bar advocates say the dispute needs to be resolved. We're not even looking to be at the top level of the surrounding states. Now, state lawmakers have indicated that they've gotten demands that, when added up, amount to about $100 million. And the House Speaker noted that reaching a consensus among the various advocates has been challenging. But the bar advocates say that the leaders have known about the issue for a long time. This should not come as a surprise. Some senators, state senators, say they'll meet with bar advocates to try to find a path forward. So a raise for them was not included in the most recent state budget. According to the Senate Ways and Means Committee, what the lawyers are asking for now would amount to a 54% increase. But leaders said threats to federal funding have already required cuts in spending. The governor has expressed concern about the ongoing work stoppage, but has stopped short of saying whether her office will get involved. And she did say it's a matter of public safety, but it's also a matter of due process. And people are entitled to representation. I continue to call for a swift resolution here so we can get beyond this, so that people can be protected in court with counsel, and also that public safety is protected. But I can tell you right now, and this is the sad part, it depends on what court you're in when you get court-appointed counsel as to the quality of your court-appointed counsel. I can tell you that there are some places in Michigan that I know of where if you get court-appointed counsel, you will get just as good representation as if you went out and found your own attorney. Because there are some courts where they're like, hey, you know something? Everybody deserves the same representation. Other courts say, well, you know, something, our budget is so small, we can't afford to pay these attorneys that much. So they offer a very, very small amount, but they go, you'll make it up in quantity. See? And so you'll hear these horror stories about somebody who said, I need a court-appointed attorney. They say, go to court on Thursday. At your first hearing, you'll meet your attorney. So you walk into court on Thursday, and you're looking around the courtroom, and there's somebody sitting at a desk with a pile of folders like this, files, and all these people crowded around him, and you realize that's your court-appointed attorney right there. And so as you work your way to the front of the crowd, you go, hi, are you so? Yes, I'm your attorney. What's your name? Johnson. Oh, hang on a second. They pull a file out, open it up, glance at it. Okay, you're charged with this. Would you take this? Because I think I can get them to offer you that. Now, you'll notice in that exchange, other than learning the person's name, no discussion has taken place regarding the facts. If the person did do what they're accused of, a plea bargain might make complete sense. If they didn't do it, perhaps it's not appropriate. But if you're the attorney and you've got 35 files in your desk that all got to get resolved by noon, you might not have enough time to do more than that. And so, like I said, it's two ends of a spectrum. And I can tell you that when I was a court-appointed attorney, I had a couple different ways they handled it. And I remember one court that I handled a bunch of drunk driving cases. People came in, they were arrested for drunk driving, couldn't afford attorneys. And I've mentioned before that I've done drunk driving cases. I've had some people go, Steve, how can you represent a drunk driver? You know, well, I was court appointed, okay? Number one. But number two, they paid me really, really close to the same rate I charged friends, okay? Now, if a person walked onto the street, total stranger, I'd name a price. It wasn't my friends and family discount, although, quite frankly, no one in my family has ever had that kind of trouble. But I've had friends or friends of friends, and I say, well, here's the rate I charge. And the one court paid really close to that. But I've seen it in some cases, and I've heard of stories. I remember up in the Northwest someplace, I forgot if it was Oregon or Washington, where they had a similar problem, where the court-appointed lawyers were making such little money that a lot of them just said, I'm out of here, went and found other work. And now there's a shortage of them. And it's a marketplace. You have to understand that right now there are a lot of attorneys out there, and a lot of them are looking for work or looking for more work. And so if you don't mind doing criminal defense, become a court-appointed attorney, and you can get all the work you want. But the problem is they might not be paying enough to make it worth your while. And so that's a real problem. The interesting thing is I read several articles here, and I never once saw a reference to what they're being paid. I did see a thing where it says that they're generally asking for a raise of about a 54% increase, but I don't know if the original number was really, really low or not. And, 54% just depends on what the other number is. So, unfortunately, a lot of people, knee-jerk response, they have bad things to say about public defenders. And I've known some who were extremely diligent, extremely good, and I've also known some who are kind of like overworked, underpaid, and weren't as invested in it. And like I said, I handled a bunch, and I like to think I did a good job, but, that's just me talking about myself. But the situation is obviously a problem. And I'd like to point out the irony that they passed a law saying that the public defenders could not unionize. So they haven't unionized, but they've all somehow managed to walk out at the same time. And now people are saying, perhaps you should negotiate. Okay, who do we negotiate with? Because they're all individual contractors. See, that's a problem. So it's a crazy situation. We'll see what happens. But yeah, as of right now, they've released a bunch of defendants, and it might be that the cases get dismissed for good. And that wouldn't be right either. So we'll see what happens. But WCVB reported that. Sharman Sacheti wrote that. Hundreds of more Massachusetts criminal cases can be dismissed due to ongoing public defender strike. Questions or comments? Put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Oh, you're going to need a bigger boat.